Good morning, Ryan.
How's everybody doing?
Good.
Morning.
Good, good. We got Logan on this morning. All right.
So man, I'm just gonna sit in, hang out.
Nice, nice. Um, Daniel's not going to be with us this morning, but Daniel reached out last night. He's got some stuff going on this morning, but um, he did say that the business life planning event was amazing. Thanks for pushing me to attend. It's already started having an impact on my business, and I think it's going to help me set up for a big 2024. So hopefully everyone also had a good meeting last week. So Logan, it sounds like you did a good job.
Awesome, yeah, glad he enjoyed it.
Everyone else made it here, I believe. I think I saw all your faces in the pictures. Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Nice, nice. All right. Well, we're gonna get started. This is module 12. So does everyone know what weekday started?
I think I started week 2.
Week 2. Or you just started, so you're probably like week 9 or 10.
I think it was week 9. Mhm.
And Brittany,
I was the lucky one and started in week 1.
you did start at week 1?
Yes.
No, this is my last one with you.
Yes, I know.
That's crazy. It literally seems like you just started. That's great.
Yeah.
She's
Well,
gonna come back and see you every week anyway, Brian, because she misses
I
you.
hope so. I hope so. Tony's obviously been on with us a lot. Tony actually had a big close last week. Had a really nice cabin. So I don't know if you saw that. So good for him. So he's hopefully out celebrating right now. He's not not here with us today. So yeah, so we'll get started. So this is module 12. So this is closing the sale, creating clients for life. Again, these are the modules we've already went through. Brittany's already done all these, but Maria, you're going to go back through all these. Catherine, where did you say you started at?
Week 2.
Week 2. Okay, so yeah, so you just have the module 1, so that's an easy one. And then Maria, these are all the other ones that you're going to go through, which will be really good for you. So hopefully the other ladies on here will attest to that. But so this is a module 12 learning objectives we're going to go through is understanding the closing disclosure, when to open escrow, what is time is of the essence, and how to navigate the pending path. And we talked about the pending path before. How do you describe the pending path, Brittany?
Sorry. Honestly, I am not sure.
Anyone else, Catherine?
I mean, it's just the checklist you go through to get it through totally under contract with no conditions before closing.
Yeah, so remember that little chart that kind of wiggles back and forth, all the different stops that you have to make to get it from opening escrow to close, all the different steps. So we're going to go through some of that stuff today. Typical due diligence time frames, who assists on the pending path, communication, follow-up. Those are some of the things we're going to go through today. Today's affirmation, I know my strengths and what my revenue producing activities are. I love delegating the busy work to those who are better at it than I. What are some revenue producing activities? Anybody?
I mean, open houses, calling people. I mean, basically anything where you're trying to solicit business.
Yeah. So I would put prospecting at the top of that list, right? So there's as busy real estate agents, there's this Logan's got his computer off right now, or I'm video off right now because he's probably doing activities, right? Because there's always unlimited activities we can do, but it's important to set aside time to do the activities that are revenue producing, right? So trying to set aside, that's what we're always talking about, time blocking and doing your prospecting, as often as you guys can. That's what's going to keep you guys busy. So closing the sale, the closing disclosure. Has anyone seen a closing disclosure?
I have, but it's been like 15 years. Well, maybe not that long. Maybe 8 years.
Yeah. Maria, what do you think of when you hear closing disclosure? What is that?
It's the forms that you go through before you close. So it has all the information, all the money that you have to bring to the table, all the things, loan disclosures are filled out as well.
Yeah.
I remember.
I think I've got one or two. So this is, so here's,
Mhm.
this is a pretty recent one. It's over here. So this is a closing disclosure. This is what the buyers got at closing. This has got all their loan information on it, the final loan numbers, right? It's got the attorney, Michael and Gray, which I highly recommend. And it's got their monthly payments, right? Their fixed interest rate, the total amount that they're financing, and then it's kind of everything that they're going to be paying throughout the process, right? And it's got itemized what their fees are, settlement fees, their notary fees, everything that they're paying that's going into the loan, broken down for them line by line, and they sign this somewhere here at the bottom on the last page, right? Though the CD is going to have a lot of your loan stuff on it, and then you're going to have your Altus, which is where the buyer and the seller both sign, and this is going to have itemized, this is what the borrower is paying, this is what the seller is paying, the fees that they're going to have, and it kind of breaks down, again, just like you mentioned, Maria, what the buyer needs to bring to the closing table to close, and all the different fees and who's paying what, right? So it's going to be itemized, one person on one side, one person on the other side of who's paying what, right? Got to break down into commissions, and then the final numbers at the bottom, and then it's signed by both parties. So when you guys close out a deal, this is something that you're going to need to upload into SkySlope, showing that it's done, right? Opening escrow. When does escrow open?
When you deposit the earnest money check,
Yeah. Who
and you have
opens
a
escrow?
contract.
Yes, right. First we have that. So who normally opens the escrow? Who normally initiates that? So Brittany, this is your last one. I'm gonna pick on you a lot today. I'm sorry. So you're the buyer's agent, and Maria is the listing agent, and you send her an offer, and her client accepts it. She emails it back to you. What's the next step?
As the buyer's agent, I would open the escrow account, right?
Mm-hmm. And how are you doing that?
Reaching out to an attorney,
Yep. And who picks that attorney?
the buyer.
Right. Yes. Right. All good.
Yes.
Two thumbs up. So right. So in this example of that the closing disclosure I showed you guys, maybe maybe it's Michael and Gray, right? So you're gonna send them an email. I usually put in the subject 123 Main Street, and I'm saying, hey, like we just opened escrow on this account. I've attached the executed offer to purchase, and then the attorney's gonna step in and escrow is open, and then you guys are gonna start doing the earnest money and things like that. So that's going to be on your side. We got escrow open. Time is of the essence. So this one's a little blurry. I don't know if you guys can really read this. What does time is of the essence mean?
Has to be done by a certain date.
Yes. And a big part of that is due diligence, right? So when you guys are writing those offers, so today is November 20th, which is crazy. So if you wrote an offer up today, right, and it's a 30-day close, so you might put a closing date for December 20th, right? Maybe that's 30 days. When would you put the due diligence period? When would you have that end?
Would you say a month? Or no, maybe 2 weeks, 3 weeks, I don't remember.
Yeah, so there's no set time, but depending on what kind of purchase it is, what kind of shape the house is in, what kind of loan it is, how hot the house was, right? I mean, obviously, if it's a super hot house with a bunch of offers, you having a shorter due diligence period is going to look better. But it really depends on some things. But it's obviously going to be less than the closing date, right? So if the closing date's 30 days, typically you're going to be in that 10-day to 2 to 3 week range, right?
Yeah,
And
but
that's
most
what you guys
people use it as incentives, right? To
say
take
again?
your offer. Most
Right,
people
yeah.
use incentive, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, typically the shorter the due diligence period, the more attractive the offer is, right?
Mhm.
Because once you get to that due diligence period, it's kind of not a done deal, but it's pretty close to it, right? So the due diligence period, you need to figure out like how much time you need, right? Are you doing just a simple inspection and it's a newer house, or are you doing radon and septic and have an engineer go in? Then you might need to make sure you have more time, because time is of the essence, right? Like you need to have all that, not only all that stuff done by that date, you need to have a couple of days for those reports to come back from the people that are doing the inspections, and then a couple of days to review those so that you can present it to your buyer, see what repairs they may want to have, and then be able to send it to the listing agent and then negotiate that back and forth, right? So it's very important that you guys understand the process. So I highly recommend, in one of the ways I do it, maybe Logan does a little bit differently, but when I go under contract, I put the closing date on my calendar, I put the due diligence period when it ends, and then I try to schedule my inspections right away. Like a lot of times the next day I'm already scheduling inspections, and then I'm putting those on there. I'm just like reminding myself, so I'm doing these things before this time. Because you'll see agents that do an inspection on Thursday and the due diligence period ends on Friday. You're not even gonna have the report back yet, right?
Yeah, I get the inspection done as fast as humanly possible. The week if you go under closing, I mean, if you go under contract today on a Monday, there's a good chance you could even get an inspection done maybe by the end of the week. But yeah, inspections usually going to be the biggest hang up in the whole transaction. So you might as well just get that out of the way before your buyer starts spending money on appraisals and other things like that. If the inspection doesn't look good, then you're probably dead in the water. So yeah, I mean, as soon as you get the house under contract, you should be texting your inspector or going online to try to see when they're available. I mean, it should just be almost like the first available appointment. And I don't even do my inspections based on the buyer's schedule. I just get them done as soon as possible. And I just tell the buyer to show up for the last 30 minutes if they want to hear the results. If not, I'll show up for the last 30 minutes and hear the results. But I try to tell my buyers you don't want to be there for the whole 4 hours. You just want to show up for the results and let the guy do his thing and try to find out other issues with the house other than you looking over his shoulder and him showing you everything every 2 minutes. So, but yeah, get the inspection done within a week should be your goal.
Yeah, and the inspector also doesn't want you there for 4 hours for sure. So a lot of times the inspector will say like, "Hey, I'm starting at 9. Have them show up at 12:30." Right? It's kind of ideal. What would you do though? Let's just say all the inspectors are just overbooked, and you get pressed to that end of that due diligence period. What would you end up doing? Any recommendations on what maybe you could do?
You just extend it? Can you just ask for, do a amendment and extend it?
Yeah, and this is one of the things we've been talking about the last couple of weeks, is like your relationship with that other agent is huge, right? So if you guys wait till the day of due diligence period ending and say, "Hey, I want an extension," they're gonna be like, "Yeah, no," right? But if you're talking to them the whole time, say, "Hey, look, this is what's going on. Like, we're having some issues getting this inspection, and I can't get someone out here, an engineer out here to do this. Like, we're gonna go ahead and ask for an extension." If you guys are like working that, you're going to be much more prone to have that be a little bit smoother, right? So just know that you can ask for that, and the sooner that you ask for it, the better it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, just remember that the general home inspection is just the first of what might be many inspections. So I just always equate the general home inspection to the role of a general practice doctor. Like when you go to your general practice doctor, if there's something wrong with you, they send you off to somebody else. So the home inspection is the same thing. This guy's going to look at the entire house. There might be 3 things wrong with the house. Okay, one of them's the roof and one of them's the HVAC or whatever. Okay, well, we might need to get 2 other service people out to further evaluate those things and see what they are. So it's usually that second round of inspections that rolls up really close to the due diligence ending date. So then you might say, "Oh, hey, we need 3 more days of due diligence because our home inspection came back and said this, and we're getting somebody else out on this day. So yeah, if you're communicating with the other agent, then at least they know you're working towards it. And that's the other reason why you want to get the general home inspection done as soon as possible, because if you need to see a specialist, like the doctor scenario, then it's really easy to schedule that specialist inside the due diligence. But if you wait 7 or 8, or most of the time, new agents are waiting to get the home inspection done because they're trying to figure out some time that works perfectly with their buyers to be there, and just
Yeah.
do not do that.
Yes, that's great advice. Mary, who pays for these inspections and the extra, if they need extra inspections, like you mentioned, a roof or HVAC or engineer?
It is my understanding that the buyer pays for this.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. So, just make sure that when you guys are writing up these offers that, you obviously want to put a lot, as much as they can, due diligence down and earnest money down, but also let them know that, they need to have money for their down payment of their house, obviously, but they also need to, pay for these, inspections, which, sometimes they're, $400, $500, $600, and, might have a $500 appraisal, and, maybe some of these other inspections pop up where they have to have an HVAC go out there and it's a couple $100. So, just kind of let them know that those things can come. So the repair request, right? So once we get all this information back, we are going to put together a due diligence request, right? What we want to get fixed in order for our buyer to move forward with the house, right? And that's a lot of it's going to be you and your client putting this together, right? And Logan will attest, a lot of these inspection reports are 50, 60, 70, 80 pages, right? They're crazy, right? But I think in my opinion, I try to find the things that are most important, the things that are most critical too, right? Like the roof, HVAC, electrical, foundation, things like that have to be fixed, right? Because some things have to be fixed for a lender to allow your client to purchase a house, right? Little things like the doorknob is a little loose, right? Like if you're asking for the tiniest of things, it's going to be a harder process, in my opinion. The inspector's job is to find every single thing that is wrong with the house or potentially wrong with the house, right? Because they have to cover their butts, right? So understand that the inspection report, even on a brand new house, can be 30, 40 pages, right? So just know that going in, and just kind of set the expectations. Like, let's get the stuff that needs to be done fixed, and let's ask for that stuff, versus if you're asking for a list of 30 or 40 things that are just silly stuff, it's going to be harder to get the seller to agree to that kind of stuff, right? And that's in my opinion, that's how I like to do things. But yeah, you're going to spend time once you get this inspection report back. Usually it's going to be emailed to your client and to you. You guys can review it for a day or so, and then start putting together what you think should be done. Yes, Catherine?
Sorry. Do you share the inspection report with the seller, or the summary? Do you share it, or is that up to the buyer? I know it's up to the buyer if they have to agree to it because they paid for it, but do you usually share it?
It depends. I don't always share it. It depends on the house and how much is messed up with it and what we're asking for.
Okay.
So
Yeah, most of the time when you send over your due diligence request to the sellers, you're going to be referring to the numbers or the items directly from the inspection page. So you're going to say, seller to fix, you're going to say like 10.2.1.
Okay.
Seller to repair leaky faucet in master bath, or whatever it says. But you're going to be referencing the inspection report on your request. But so yes, I'd say 98% of the time you're sending the inspection report over. And sometimes you might just be asking for a credit, but you're still saying, hey, look, we want a $5,000 credit because the roof is shot. But also here's the entire inspection report. You can realize we're not trying to be, an ass about this. There's 50 things on here. We're only asking for $5,000 or whatever. So, but I would say, yeah, 98% of the time you're sending over the inspection report. Sometimes you might be sending over the inspection report plus an estimate plus
Mhm.
a second opinion, plus that, you might be sending them 5 things of why you say you need a new $9,000 HVAC system or whatever it is. But I mean, you got to remember, like, the inspections are the worst part of the real estate transaction. It's not good for either agent. It's not good for the seller. It's not good for the buyer, because some people think, oh, these buyers are, it's good for the buyer because they found all this stuff out and they're trying to get credits. But then you got to realize, then the buyer is getting cold feet. Then they're getting nervous that the house is going to cost a lot of money, or it's going to be a money pit, or whatever. Inspections are just, it's not fun for anyone. It's usually the worst entire week of the transaction. It's where everything can go south. It's where a good relationship with the other agent completely goes haywire. And it's, if everyone's going to come out hating them in the transaction, I guarantee it's 90% of the time over the inspections. So, I mean, there's some markets around the country that, because of so much infighting, they've gone to use only credits. I believe like New York and New Jersey, they're no longer negotiating repairs. They're only negotiating credits, because at the end of that negotiation, both parties are signing off that they're accepting the house like as is, because they had so many problems about, they said they were going to do this and they didn't end up doing it. It blew up the close, because you got to remember, you're having the home inspection. Let's say you're still 3 weeks away from closing, get the inspection results back. Okay, then you got 2 or 3 days to get it to the seller. Then the seller's got 2 or 3 days to get it back to you. Then the buyers don't agree. Then the sellers don't agree. Then you're bickering about it back and forth. Well, then you come to an agreement, but it's only like 10 days before closing. Well, nowadays, that's probably too soon to get whatever fixed you're trying to get addressed. So then you might be back to negotiating a credit instead of a repair. So yeah, I mean, I'd say, there's only a couple percentage points of deals that fall through, but the vast majority of those are inspection related. And sometimes it's the buyer, sometimes the sellers dig their feet in because they're living in the house and they don't think anything's wrong with the house, and the house is perfectly fine. And the inspector comes back with, like Brian said, 60 pages of things that are wrong. And these people have been living there for 15 years perfectly fine. So, yeah, I mean, inspections is the worst part of, I think, the job overall, is dealing with inspections. But yeah, just get it done as soon as possible. And then, like Brian was saying, have your clients figure out what's really, really important to them. And it's not always the most expensive things. Some of that stuff you can live with, but like structural things should be really important. And then you can sort of work your way down this like hierarchy of what their needs are. But nowadays, if there's too many things on the report, the seller is just going to dig in their heels and say, nope, we're not doing it. Then the buyer is going to be pissed and want to move on. So you're better off just saying, hey, we think these, 5 things are super important. We want them addressed, and try to negotiate them out as best that you can.
Yeah, and it's all, again, it's all about expectations and your relationship with the other agent, right? So if you've got, letting your client know, like, hey, and before the inspection, it's going to come back with a lot, right? Because this is a 15-year-old house. We're probably going to have, 40, 50 pages of stuff. And then, when you get it back and you're talking to the other agent before you send it to them, like, hey, look what we got, the inspection report back. There's some stuff that we found. Obviously, the good news is my client's not asking for everything, right? So just set that tone, right? And then they're going to go back to like, hey, look, this agent's cool. Like, they're not going to try to nickel and dime us. That they're only going to ask for what's important, right? So you're setting those stages even before you actually like get into it, and that's going to help you guys along the way. I also understand that when you share that inspection report, or as a listing agent, when I get an inspection report, all that stuff is public knowledge, right? Like it's material facts, right? So as a listing agent, like, I'm letting my client know, like, hey, you can turn down anything that they're asking for, but if we go back on the market, now we have to redo all our disclosures and disclose all this material, right? You think we're going to get an offer like this going back on the market? It's going to be better to dance with the people that we're with, right? So yeah, that great question. So yeah, so the like Logan mentioned, this is the toughest part, right? You guys are going to get great at finding clients and getting under contract. the inspection repair stuff is the toughest part, and negotiating that is where you guys earn your keep for for sure. Any other questions about that part of it?
No, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks. And then I'm not sure if the next one that mentions the appraisal. Who's ordering the appraisal normally?
Lender.
Yeah,
The
so
buyer.
normally the buyer's lender is doing that, right? So and normally you're it's scheduling the inspection right away, and then hopefully the lender's scheduling the appraisal sooner than later, right? I just had one come back, and the inspection came back this day. We're negotiating stuff, and then the appraisal came back, and what we negotiated the price at of 175, the appraisal came back and it was at 173. So we end up dropping our price to 173 and just calling it even, right? And that's kind of where you're at. So the appraisal is one of those things where like the house is worth what it's worth, right? And that's an expert's going in there to say this is all that we can lend on this house. It doesn't necessarily mean that's the most that you can accept, right? But if you got somebody with cash or somebody can make up the difference in that. But in this market, a lot of times you are probably, as a seller, probably coming down, if not to that appraisal, at least pretty close to it, right? So those are things you have to negotiate as well. And as on the listing side, a lot of times you're not even going to find out what it appraised for, right? Because the buyer's not typically going to tell you. They're just going to say we're good, or they're just never going to mention it again, right? And for me, typically, on the listing side, it's no news is good news, right? But if it's below, we're gonna find out. So we're gonna have to work through that and start negotiating that stuff. So again, time is of the essence. I know we spent a lot of time on this slide, but it is really, really important for you guys to be on the ball when it comes to getting under contract. So there are I'll click on this lender request. So there's times where you guys get the inspection back, and the lender, even through their appraisal, is going to ask for repairs. So sometimes the appraisal, the appraiser will say, hey, like in order for me to value this house at 250, this needs to be done. There's rotten wood on this back porch. In order for me to approve this appraisal, this has to be fixed and this has to be fixed, right? So sometimes that's going to happen as well. If it's a lender request, it's not something that you're going to negotiate. I mean, it's got to be done. You just got to let the agent know, like this has to be done, or it's this loan's not going to go through, right? So certain things like that need to be done, and then also understand that there's many times where you guys ask for the actual repairs. And Logan mentioned this a minute ago. A lot of times you're going to ask for, in lieu of repairs, a credit, right? And that's easiest for the seller, typically. But it's also a lot of times if it's something, it might be something where your buyer might not want it done the way that they're going to do it, right? So maybe just take a credit and repair things correctly that is actually be done correctly, instead of half-assed sometimes. And B, you guys can decide how you get it done. So the in lieu of repairs is a very common thing.
Yeah, one more tip, and I gotta jump off because I gotta go to a 10 o'clock meeting here. But one thing that like 2 slides ago with getting under contract, I think a pro tip too is to have a form email that you send to all your buyers that you get under contract about like next steps. Because also you got to remember, this is when you should be sending them out like multiple lenders to contact. Maybe you share with them 2 home inspectors to look after, all that's, a home insurance person that you want to send them. Like whenever, as soon as you go under contract, buyers are always like, oh, what do we do now? Right. So you might want to have like a form email that you just sort of forward to everyone. That's like, all right, step 1, let's get the inspection scheduled. Here's 2 companies that I normally use to schedule the inspections with. See if their online scheduling platform can, book your ASAP appointment, and just say like, not around your schedule. Don't worry, I can be there or something. Maybe then step 2 is like lenders. All right, you may have already gotten pre-approved, but now's your chance to like shop around multiple lenders. Here's the lenders I use, then you need to get insurance after that. Here's an insurance person. But it's pretty good to have just like an under contract email go out to your buyers Because a lot of them don't, they're like excited and they don't really know what the next steps are. So you can you can knock a couple birds out with one stone, right? You can send them, hey, congrats, we're under contract here. You can send them that along with, hey, we need to get the inspection scheduled. We need to start, shopping lenders if that's what you want to do. But all that stuff, you can get it all done in like one long email because we're supposed to be sharing with them lenders and inspectors and all this stuff. So just one little tip is just to have a under contract email for your buyers that you've already typed it once and you just use it over and over and over again.
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's something that I don't do. So it'd be easier than redoing it every time. So yeah, that's good.
Yeah, and it's just sort of like now that we're under contract, here's the next steps, and it gives the buyers like they don't realize they've got a couple of days to shop around their mortgage. They don't have to go with the person who gave the pre-approval. Same thing with the inspector. A lot of times I'll just give them 2 inspections, like the links to schedule the inspections on there. But yeah, you can copy and paste that to buyers all the time and also people like, getting an email that, oh, congrats, we're under contract. Here you go. So
Logan, why don't you send us an example?
nah. All right, yeah, I can look. I'll figure out one of mine.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good call.
All right,
Um,
guys, I gotta run. Y'all have a good day
yeah,
and good
thanks for coming on.
Thanksgiving.
Thanks, Logan.
Bye, guys.
So I know we mentioned this a lot, the communication. I think I mentioned this like 4 times already, but the process of you're communicating with your client, you're communicating with the other agent, and you're communicating with the attorney, and you're communicating with the lender, right? So when you're in escrow, I mean, there should never be a week where you haven't talked to at least each one of those at least once or twice, right? They'll understand when you're selling your house or you're buying a house, those people are just sitting at home antsy and they want answers, right? So just like when you guys send an offer for somebody, like they want to know the results instantly, right? So just like shoot them texts as often as you can, like haven't heard anything yet, or like they're expecting an offer from someone else this evening, so it'll probably be tomorrow. Like just set expectations, because if they're constantly having to reach out to you, they feel like you're not working. So just constantly communicate with them as much as you can. Who does all the stuff in escrow? Again, for right now, you guys should be you guys are the transaction coordinators, right? You guys should be handling this entire process, just because you need to learn it and know it frontwards and backwards. After you guys bang out 10 of these and you guys are super comfortable, then yeah, throw it to a transaction coordinator. It's usually only a couple $100 and they'll kind of handle the process. But again, you're still doing the repair addendum and still doing that stuff. So I was using a transaction coordinator for a while. I've kind of found that like bringing it back in and me doing it myself, like sometimes if I have to answer questions to someone else, it's easier for me just to answer it myself. So you guys will figure out what's the best use of your time when it comes to that. Clients for life. Ideally, right? Like every time you guys do a transaction, in the future, you have another potential client, right? So your first couple of years, you're really grinding, and then year 3 and 4 and 5 are easier because you're getting referrals and you're getting repeat business, right? So you want to make sure that the second that you get done with them, you're not completely done with them, that you're actually like texting them on their 1-year anniversary or telling them, I'm gonna send out a bunch of Thanksgiving texts. I promise. I'll probably spend 2 hours, Thursday morning before we head down to my parents' house, like just sending out stuff so people know that I'm thinking about them. But that it goes a long way. So I try to set all that stuff up in my CRM. This is very true. 75% of agents never follow up after a sale. That's crazy, right? The people already hopefully like you, right? And listen, there are times where you're going to have a transaction and they've been your best friend through the whole process, and you get into escrow and you get into closing, they see how much your commission check is, and it just gets ugly, right? It's just don't take it personal, have thick skin, but you're probably not gonna follow with that person a lot. But if the transaction went well, like you should follow with them all the time. Like, make them feel like they're your friends and be friends with them. It's fine. But continue to follow up, and every time you follow up, they're gonna be on top of your mind. So maybe they're going to church that night and be like, you know what? I know you're talking about buying a house. Like my realtor was really good. He actually texted me today, and I sold his house. He sold my house a year ago, right? So constantly be on top of their minds will be very helpful. Again, CRM. Literally the second we hang up here, I'm jumping in my CRM. I'm gonna be nose deep in that CRM till at least noon. So prospecting a lot today, even though it's Thanksgiving. I'm hoping to take a couple listings this week. Just because the holiday doesn't mean you can't keep prospecting. But also, you know, a big part of this week is reaching out to past clients and telling them happy Thanksgiving. So
Well, and the easiest thing they told us during that CRM class is sign up for the holiday email, and it just every holiday it sends everyone the happy holidays email. I mean, it's better than nothing.
yeah, I mean it's easy to put people on those drips and campaigns, but most people just don't do it. Most people just do not spend time in their CRM, and that part's tough. And I know right now with you guys having maybe you have 10 people in your CRM right now, so you're like, I don't need to set all this stuff up and tag it and change the disposition to this or this. But in 6 months, when you have 400 people in there, right, it's gonna hard for you guys to remember Tim that you met at Applebee's, 4 Saturdays ago. You know what I'm saying? Like it just, that kind of stuff is hard to remember. So like using your CRM and like setting reminders, stuff like that is what's going to take you guys from closing X amount of deals to closing another 10 deals, right? We've kind of went through all this before, so we won't go through this again. The holidays, birthday, social media. So yeah, that is today's closing. So again, if you guys need me to send you some closing disclosures, like I have a couple here that you go through. Again, these are when you guys get this for the first time. If you guys want to call me or call your mentor and like, hey, like how do I present this to my client? The attorney is typically going to email it directly to them as well. These are going to get signed wet, right? So they're going to either come into the attorney or they're going to have a mobile notary come out. So those need to be wet signatures. Sometimes after that, if things change, some stuff can be done electronically after that initial wet signatures. But usually the attorney does a really good job explaining all the stuff on that form. But there's gonna be times where they want you to explain it. And if you guys need help with that, is this a credit or is this, who's paying for this? Get your mentor on the phone or give me on the phone and we can do a screen share. I can jump on the phone with your clients, but yeah, so this is, the closing of the sale is super important. So again, I know right now it's daunting, like, oh, I need clients. Again, that part will be easy for the 3 of you guys, I promise. But is navigating the actual sale, which is what keeps people up at night. So yeah, any questions for me?
When you said wet signatures, I know, obviously that means they sign. So we can't do everything digitally. They do have to meet with the attorney to do wet signatures for the closing disclosure or for a few things.
Yeah, there's a few things that they sign that need to be wet, and usually that the final Alto settlement statement is signed wet. But there's also times where like if other things come up or need to be changed afterwards, because a lot of times your clients might go into the attorney's office a couple of days early, right, and just and sign early, and then the day of maybe this change, and we can just docu-sign them the other stuff. But for the most part, in North Carolina, things have to be wet, at least the main documents.
And they can use a mobile notary, because I know you've done some closing at the office and people are upstate, so you can do that mobile notary, but that's still a wet signature.
Yeah. So
Digital signatures.
yeah,
I
so
get it.
you can
Okay.
ask the attorney if they have a mobile notary, and usually they have somebody. I have a girl that does mobile notary as well. So then if you guys need somebody, I can have them do that. But I just had one do that the month before last, and the husband was in the hospital and the wife was at the house, so the notary went to 2 different places to get their signatures, and then they overnight that to the attorney's office, and they have it the next morning. But she signs off on it, so it's official.
Well, that's
so.
wet. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
I didn't know that those had to be wet signatures. Like, what I remember after COVID, like you did everything online. Did you like digital signatures, and then you actually signed them on closing?
Yeah, but even during COVID, there was still wet signatures. I mean, that's when mobile notaries came very popular. So I mean, typically you sign something either in person in front of the notary or at the attorney's office wet. Yeah, and definitely nowadays after post-COVID, and there's still stuff that has to be done. Something has to be wet almost every time. So there's times where if it's the cash deal, maybe the the buyer doesn't have to sign anything if they don't have any actual CDs. But the seller's gonna have to sign the deed, and things like that. So there's certain things that have to be done, but.
But those
yeah,
usually
this-
are
this-
not before the closing date. Not all of them,
Yeah,
right?
a lot of times you'll have that some stuff a little bit early. And then you can always ask the attorney if they can close early. And there's also times like if you know your clients, like I'm going to see a house today. The two owners live out of state in different states. I'm just gonna go see the house. So I would obviously DocuSign everything and hopefully get the listing and all that stuff. And then when it comes to closing, I'll just let the attorney know, like when I open escrow, or whoever opens escrow, like, hey, my clients aren't going to be here, like just plan on a mobile notary in these two different states. So try to set that up in advance, because I can't tell you how many times, even I forgot, and the day of closing, they're like, I was like, oh yeah, we need a mobile notary. And they're like, cool, yeah, well, we can send someone out today, but they're not going to get it back till tomorrow. And today's Friday, so it's not gonna get back till Monday. Now we actually can't close and record. So you just want to make sure you're thinking of that stuff ahead if they can't actually come into the office.
Right,
It happens.
right. Can you follow up with Logan or see if he can get that email about whatever that?
Yeah.
You're under contract, congratulations, now what? And then I think I'd asked you this before, in the Sky Slope, there's like some kind of checklist. I just wanted a checklist to put like all my dates on there or something, so I don't miss anything. Is there something like that?
Yeah, there should be in there. I don't always use Sky Slope.
No, how do you keep track of all your dates? Do you?
I'm also, I just put on my calendar. I put it on my calendar, then I put it on my whiteboard. So I've got my Google Calendar, and then I've got a bunch of stuff written on my whiteboard. So I write stuff out.
And even though you have Apple, you put everything on the Google Calendar.
Yeah, so I'm Apple everything, but my Gmail, I mean, everything goes to my browningsrealtor.com, which is through Gmail. So I use everything in there. Yeah.
Okay, that's the hardest thing for me being an old school agent, is setting up that technology. So I have to ask you and Allison about I don't even do Gmail or the Google Calendar very well, and Docs and all that. I don't really use it yet, but anyway, thank you. I'll figure it out.
Yeah, I mean the Google Calendar, I mean, should be.
I mean, I
really
have
makes
it,
sense.
and
I
a
mean,
few things go on there, but I have like Apple calendars, and then I have Outlook calendars, and I don't know. I've got to figure out something more seamless.
Yeah, I mean, I found that I don't like the Apple Calendar, but I mean, so when I'm in Gmail, I mean, I keep Gmail open, and usually the tab right beside it is my mail, and it's just normally full, but it's so easy. And then when I'm clicking, if I have a listing appointment, I mean, I have it in here, and on my phone, I'm in my Gmail, and like last week, had some listing appointments. So just I click on my phone in Gmail, which is on here. I click on the listing appointment, and the address is in there, and it pulls my maps right up, my Apple Maps right up. So it's just so easy for me to do all that stuff through Gmail.
Let's have a technology class about how to do that.
Yeah, I think it's a good job. I mean, I think if you guys are not feeling comfortable technology wise, it's going to be harder for you. But that's what I use. That's what a lot of agents use.
Catherine, I use Gmail for all my stuff too.
Okay,
So.
Gmail and Gmail.
Me
Mhm.
too. We can probably have like a coffee date or something, and we can just jump into all those things too.
Yeah, and your Google Drive, where you're keeping all your documents for your records too. I mean, there's
And
a
keep it
million
in
different
Google
things you can-
Drive. Don't keep it on your computer in your files. Keep it on Google Drive.
I mean, you can do both, but I mean, there's times where like if I have something in Google Drive, I mean, if I'm on my phone, I can pull it up, even though I stored it on my computer, in the office. So, yeah, it's just a good way to keep track of everything. But Google is phenomenal.
Okay.
It's
And then what
very
about-
easy?
Like Allison had like a notebook where she was writing notes. Like this was on her iPad where she was writing notes on the little notebook app or something. Do you do that where you write notes with your
Yeah,
Apple?
I've shown you guys this a couple of times, but I use GoodNotes.
Okay.
So GoodNotes 6 is the latest one out. So I mean, when I go to a listing appointment, this is, I've got my notes. This is when I went to last week. I mean, I write all my notes in here. It's all typed on here, and then when I'm there, I can write with a pen and stuff while I'm out there. But it's just called GoodNotes, and it is phenomenal. So I've got that on my computer here, my Mac at home, my iPad when I'm in person, and it's on my phone as well. So I can just go back and type Matthews in, and every appointment I've ever been to at Matthews will pop up. I mean, so it's just very easy for me to keep there's probably 1,000 of them in here. Though it's a great app, and it looks good when you're in front of people. You can have pictures on it if you need. If you go to an appointment, I mean, when I'm
Yeah,
walking in front of somebody, like I've got this pulled up, it's got a picture of the house, got all the notes, and then when I'm there, I'm just writing in Chinese. I mean, you can't even read this, but I mean, I'm at least
you can
taking.
read it. So, right, you keep that and then you go through because a friend of mine wants me to do a CMA for a bankruptcy, kind of long story, and it's never been on the market yet. So I've got to go figure it out because it's not even in the canopy. And anyway, so I remembered you saying that to have your comps there and then to kind of make notes on them. So you can say, okay, this comp was redone. This comp was not, this has a fence. This doesn't have the garage, to write on there so I can remember what I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, if you want to send over the address, we can, work on your comps together and put your notes together. But I mean, also, your notes that you're taking while you're there are good because when you get that listing and you go live, I mean,
No, it's
good
not
to
a
go back to my
listing.
notes and like,
They're not selling.
Yeah, but I mean, just whatever it is, it's good to have to go back and look at those notes, and you can put those notes into your CRM. So,
Okay.
yeah, nice background, by the way.
Thank you. I love it because it's like almost looks like it's real.
It does. It looks.
If I don't move.
Yeah.
I found it online. It's great. I love it. Okay. One other question is because I was going to do the CRM and I'm so behind. Like I've done all these classes, but I haven't done anything myself. I was just going to use the Canopy, not CRM, CMA, sorry, and just use it through Canopy. Do you use a special CMA software or do you use Canopy? What do you do? I need to prepare it for an attorney. So they have to give this to the attorney, declare bankruptcy. So they're trying to only show so much value in the house. And I just said, look, I'll do it honestly, what it's worth. I can't guarantee an outcome, but
yeah, honestly, I don't do anything fancy at all. I just literally download them as a PDF on my computer, and that's what I'm showing them is
that. Okay.
Is that.
Okay. I'm going to do something simple. Allison said she did the same thing. She was like, I just kind of do the quick CMA and I go out there and then I'll make notes and, based on how it looks, then that's our price. I have an idea, but it changes as you go out there, depending on what the house looks like.
Right. Yeah. And there's just times like I've seen agents and they put together this 40-page fancy CMA and it looks all great. But at the end of the day, like I try to keep them focus on this house is your neighbor's house. It looks just like yours. They've done these upgrades. And then when I get out there, if things have changed, like my comps might change altogether. Right. Like it just, things you gotta be prepared to do stuff on the fly. So I have enough comps to show that I know what I'm talking about, but I don't spend a lot of time putting a big report together. Obviously that's a little bit different doing it for a bankruptcy, but I still think just a PDF with the stuff that's sold around it would be enough.
Probably good. And then just summarize the big stuff, the differences should be okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I hope everyone has a great Thanksgiving and this is healthy. I will see 2 of you back next week. Brittany, you are always welcome to jump on. If it's about listing or it's about something and you just want a refresher, you can always jump on. So would love to see you back in here. So
yes.
And you always email us, right? You email it to
everybody. It goes to everybody.
Wide.
I mean, Tony's been through this like 3 times. I mean, he just, there's just some people just pop in all the time.
Just to listen to it, because every once in a while it'll trigger something, be like, oh shoot, I meant to do that and I forgot.
Yeah, of course. It's honestly, it's good for me doing this because it keeps me fresh as well. So I enjoy it as well. So
thank you.
Thank
all right,
you.
Maria, get out of that car and go do whatever you're about to do.
Dropping off the kids and then I got stuck, so I'm gonna go work.
All right, guys, enjoy your week. Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Happy Thanksgiving. Thanks.
Bye.